All right, welcome to this edition of Breaking Absolutes. This is Peter Orullian. I'm excited today to be able to have a conversation with Dino Jelusick. When I had reached out and to set this time up, I had no idea. I'm not sure Dino did. I guess we'll talk about that. That he would end up getting the nod to become the newest member of Whitesnake, which is like just sort of earth-shaking news and really, really cool. And actually really, really deserved. And part of the conversation we'll have, I think, bears that out. If you haven't taken a chance, in order for us to continue to bring you these kinds of guests, give us a follow, a subscribe, gives us a chance to continue momentum on this idea we have that this style of music deserves a deeper discussion and a broader audience. And the idea is we can dimensionalize artists like Dino in order to do precisely that. A little bit about Dino before I bring him on. Some folks will know, have followed him long enough to have seen him, a band he founded and was the central songwriter for Animal Drive, who released some things. We'll talk about that. Many folks, of course, know him from his work with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I, in fact, have seen him a number of times on that tour. He's so on live, and we'll talk a little bit about his vocal approach. He did a great record with George Lynch. I've got a funny story about that. Maybe Dino's heard it, but I'm going to share it because I think it's really hysterical. And the guy has just worked with the who's who in the industry. Gus G, who we had on the show yesterday, Jeff Scott Soto, Dean Castanova, Joel Hoekstra. The list really goes on, and we'll point you to a place where you can get a sense of the breadth of the musicians and the caliber of musicians that he has played with. A couple of other really, I think, meaningful sparklers that set up the journey that I think validates my comment about him having earned all of the things that are now coming, to fruition for him. He earned a master's degree at the Academy of Music at the University of Zagreb, and he'll keep me honest on pronunciations here because that is my weak suit. He was the first winner of the Junior Eurovision Song Contest. He's placed in, there's almost more of these than I can name, but he has been active in going to festivals where he competes as both a performer and as a songwriter, and has taken away so many awards. And we'll point you to that so you can get a sense of the depth of the career in terms of his competitive nature and how he's performed there. But let me leave that as the setup and bring the man on himself, and we'll get going with our conversation. Dino, welcome.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
So
nice intro.
Oh, thanks. I'm really pleased that this worked out the way it did since the big news hit yesterday. And you told me you're getting calls off the hook.
Yeah, it's today and yesterday have been just crazy, and I really haven't slept. I didn't eat too much today. I've been recording something. But yeah, it's I knew about this for a while, but still, when it happened, it's just kind of surreal. It's not kind of surreal. It is surreal because it's, the band I grew up listening to, and all of a sudden I get a call from, David. He wants me in the band, and I'm like, why do you want me in the band? I'm a singer. He's like, yeah, but you can sing, but you also play keyboards, you play guitars, I want all of your sides in the band. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm not gonna say no to that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it is like you're living the exact rock star dream. The movie's been made about this kind of thing.
yeah, rock star Mark Wahlberg,
right?
Yeah, we all watched it.
We all did. Yeah. We all got chills when he finally nailed the tune and got the nod.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I've talked about that moment of cinema quite a few times, but if you're a musician that has been striving against its music dream, you can't help but just get the chills at that moment. So I can only imagine what you must be going through right now, which is, congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's I've been getting messages, and all of a sudden I get a message from David. He's like, "Are you celebrating, Dino? Are you celebrating this moment?" And I'm like, David, I've been celebrating this, the fact that you've been sending me messages. How can I not celebrate being in Whitesnake? So it's crazy. Yeah. So it's cool.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that as kind of a crown to the conversation, but there's so much more to you. And I think a lot of that probably is what eventuated in this opportunity. I want to talk about, kind of start way back. Your parents were musical and they had you performing at a very young age, right?
Yeah. Well, my father was a guitar player in a very famous pop rock band in the 80s, and he really was the guy that influenced me the most. When I was a kid, we had a cassette, and that cassette had Iron Maiden, Van Halen, early Bon Jovi, Whitesnake, ZZ Top, Jeff Healey, T-Rex. Then there was another cassette that had Cher, Phil Collins, Toto, Gino Vanelli, Chicago, Rush, Yes. So I kind of picked up all the rock, heavy, prog, fusion, pop, 80s pop, rock stuff.
Yeah.
And, then high school came. Well, I kind of jumped to high school, but that's where I discovered metal. Pantera kind of introduced me to all the metal that I started to like, after that, Lamb of God, Gojira, Slipknot, and then there was Dream Theater kind of introduced me into prog metal. And, it's, the older I was, it was not like, okay, I'm going to dismiss all the music that I've been listening. It's let's add this new metal stuff to all the stuff that I've been already listening to. And yeah, and I started playing keyboards when I was 9, so 2001. I started playing guitar actually pretty late, and my father never showed me anything, so I was pretty much playing everything by myself, practicing by myself. The bass came a couple of years ago, but I really started playing bass actively. But I've been singing since 1996, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and one of the things that struck me is in addition to these influences and the performance angle, you started songwriting at a very young age, which is a little bit rarer in my experience.
Yeah. I mean, you got to start writing songs when you're a kid, when you're young, because in the beginning you're gonna suck. So if you start as a kid, you're allowed to suck. If you start when you're old and you start to suck, it's not gonna look good. So and I wrote a pretty cool conceptual album when I was 21. It came out in Croatia. It was really well received. Very interesting story. And I'm mainly a singer and a songwriter, which is now that I'm involved with Whitesnake, I am none of those. I mean, I'm still a singer, and
Sure.
I might be co-writing something in the future, but I play different instruments, so there's different shades of me as a musician that you can use. I never wanted to rely only on my singing, because I really wanted to rely on myself when it comes to everything, mixing, production, writing songs, playing instruments. Because at one point my band couldn't record for me, because they were on different sides of Croatia, so I had to do everything myself. That's where I really got into guitars and bass. I was like, I gotta track this by myself. So nowadays, if somebody can't play it, no problem. I played bass on the unreleased album of Animal Drive. I played bass, so because the bass player couldn't do it, and I said no problem. I'm gonna do it all. So
Well,
you got to rely on yourself.
Well, let's just, while you brought it up, I noted that there was sort of a parting of the ways with the record company with Animal Drive, and I don't need to get into the drama there, but you say you have an entire record written that you wrote with Animal Drive that's unreleased.
Oh yeah. It's written, it's produced, it's been done for, it's going to be 2 years now since it's pretty much done, and it's absolutely incredible. I remember showing it to certain people. It's proggy, it's catchy, it's a very King Zix meets Dream Theater meets Winger meets Pantera meets Alice in Chains meets Toto. It starts with a proggy tune, ends with me behind the piano, Billy Joel type of song in the end, and it's crazy good. But things start to get ugly with the record label, so I don't, since the whole situation ended up on court, I really wouldn't like to talk about it, because I'm not allowed to. But yeah, I really wished that things stayed on music and didn't involve business that I hate. So that's what kind of ruined the music, unfortunately.
Well, can I ask, is that music lost forever, or will we see it resurface somehow, somewhere?
Oh man, I am not giving up on those songs ever. Even if I have to wait 20 years, those songs will come out. It's like, if you told me that I have to give up from my apartment or that album, I would give up on my apartment right now. It's it's like a baby that you're not allowed to show to anybody. So it's and some people have heard the album. Everybody's like, when is it coming out? It's amazing. I remember when I was recording keyboards and I got the first mix of what the main so the album title is called Follow the Blind Man, and the song Follow the Blind Man came, the mix came, and I was playing the intro, and Jeff Scott Soto said, "This is brilliant. Like, who wrote this?" I'm like, "I wrote this. I played keyboard on this, and this, I also played, guitars on this." He said, "This is amazing." But nobody knows that, so it's kind of frustrating. But as I said, Dirty Business got involved, and yeah, until it's settled and resolved, it will be untouched.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of perusing some other information about you, and there's a note that there was a point where you kind of did despair about the business, and considered walking away, but it seemed like it was before the drama with the record company. Am I reading that right? And what can you give us any insight into what was it just the business?
Can you come again? Can you come again?
So there was, I was reading, and there was a note that you had. There was a point in time where you were sort of disillusioned about the business and even considering walking away. Is that right?
Well, I didn't consider walking away. It's, the band pretty much broke up because of uncertain, events. And, it's now, if I answer this question, I will have to get involved with all the drama and emails I've been involved with, with Frontiers, which is insane. And at one point, the guys from the band just left. They didn't want to be involved with this. And I told them the band broke up. They got mad and they took me to court. So it's crazy. It has nothing to do with common sense, if you ask me. And but as I said, I'm not allowed to say anything. Let the judge decide, and we'll see what happens. But I'm pretty calm, so because I know I haven't done anything wrong.
Well, we're in your corner. I'm always going to side with the musician. So we'll keep our good thoughts on your behalf in that whole situation.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was reading, there was a point in your vocal life where you hit a bad stretch. You actually had to have some surgery for, I think it's called Rinke's edema. Can you talk to us about that experience?
That was pretty stressful, I gotta say. I lost my voice for the first time ever on a live show. And I was sharing duties with a phenomenal singer. He unfortunately doesn't sing anymore. He lives in Germany now. That guy sounds like the closest I've heard to David Coverdale is that guy. He won like a Croatian Idol. He influenced a lot of us in Croatia. His name is Zoran Mišić. And I told him, dude, I was doing a Maiden tribute gig, and I told him, can we share some parts on Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter and all these songs? I was like, I lost my high range. I have no idea what's going on whatsoever. And he said, I have a bad day. I can't sing high either. So we were both struggling on that night. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to wake up, get some rest, and I'll be fine tomorrow. But that tomorrow didn't come for months, and my voice wasn't getting back. And I was doing all the scans. And at one point they said there is something there. And yeah, I ended up on surgery, and I was being quiet for 2 months. And then everything miraculously came back as far as my voice,
Yeah.
Everything came back, and it's been better than ever, since that surgery, which was in 2014, September. So yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, 2015 was cool, kind of slowly coming back. 2016, I was more coming back. That's where TSO came. But 2017, I got really strong. 2018, even stronger. And the peak was 2019. That's where my voice, I was literally able to do. Not that I can't do it today, but no gigs have been, you haven't seen any gigs since 2020. So 2019 was like the year where I was pretty invincible. I would do 2 shows a day with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And in the middle of the shows, I would be recording vocals for 3 hours. So that would be about 7 hours of singing a day.
Yeah.
It was like crazy. Once you get that stamina, when you tour a lot, you become pretty much bulletproof if you know what you're doing. So yeah, pretty good year.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Is your technique and how you approach voice something that's just grown by emulation and self-practice, or did you do it when you studied at university? Was it a vocal performance degree? Like, I guess I'm looking at what kind of vocal training might you have had?
I've had some vocal trainings when I was a kid, but ever since my voice changed, I did everything myself. And I got a call from my vocal coach that used to coach me when I was 10. He called me yesterday just to tell me that he's so proud. He says, you know, I'm listening to all these videos of you, and even when you stretch your voice, when you get raspy and everything, he says, you know, I can hear, you know what you're doing. You always come back into the right position. Your voice sounds healthy even when you go extreme with your voice. And he says, you know, not many people are able to do it, but you know, sometimes you gotta go off the edge if the song needs that, you know, if the emotion is, you know, you can't be technically perfect and just rely on that. Then you're just a MIDI file, you know, that's perfect. You know, you got to go over the edge and give people that extra, you know, that little thing. But yeah, I mean, I always know where I am at as far as position in my voice. And it's important to kind of, you know, save your voice and know what you're doing. Because if you just shout all the time, you're going to lose your voice. And once you shout too much, it might do, you know, permanent damage. So yeah.
No, that's I mean, I've done vocal training, and so when I listen to you sing, it's clear to me you know what you're doing, and I think it's what's given you both the power and the longevity that you describe. You talk about singing the 2 TSO shows and then doing all the recording, because that's a very athletic regimen to have to follow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted you alluded to this, and I was really excited to talk to you about it because and this is a personal bias, but in everything you've done, and I've now listened to it all. I think my favorite thing that you did is this concept record. I'm loath to try and pronounce it because I don't want to slaughter.
Oh, you mean the Prošao sam sve?
Yes.
That one.
Yeah, I listened. I didn't understand the lyrics, which I'm really sad about but I know the libretto. Like, I know the conceit of the story, and the music and the clear emotional content, how you deliver the story that you're doing with that, both on the compositional side and the vocal side. I think is my favorite work of yours.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's amazing.
Thank you very much. I mean, I did not expect that, but it's just a sec. I'm replying to my father. He's asking me if I'm on Zoom. Of course I am. I'm a pro. Anyway, yeah, that means a lot. I actually played on 2 songs from that album. I played all the instruments on a couple of songs, and you know, it's written by myself, and it never really got the attention it deserved. I used a couple of songs on Animal Drive's first record. I used the 3rd song from this one is Fade Away on Animal Drive's first record. Deliver Me is also on that record. What else? We were supposed to do song number 7 from that album. We did it for the second Animal Drive album. It's called The Chaos Master, and it has a different title in Croatia. Anyway, yeah, that album, you know, I was struggling to sing that album because I did vocals a couple of days before my surgery, so I was stretching myself. It's not even high to sing, but for me at that point, it was just almost unbearable to sing anything above F1, which is, you know, probably the lowest note I sing on my live shows. But yeah, I'm really happy to hear that you love the songwriting. I think the songwriting is the most important thing, you know, of it all.
Yeah, you know what, the longer I've been involved as a musician and around the industry, I've come to know lots and lots of musicians who can hit high notes, or they can play a fast arpeggio, they can do all that stuff. The difference always for me is how they apply that in songwriting. And you've done tons of really great music. I don't want to marginalize the rest of it, but there was something about the emotional quotient in that record that I think is under sort of appreciated. I'm wondering, is that is there ever, do you think you'll ever redress that with an English version, so if guys like me could understand the story lyrically?
Well, actually, we were supposed to do we were supposed to do all of these songs. So the two of those songs ended up on Animal Drive album. And honestly, I think Deliver Me from the first Animal Drive record is 10 times better than the song that was on that Croatian album. We kind of upgraded it. The keyboard solo is better. There's a middle part. Listen to Deliver Me. You'll know which song I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But for instance, the second song is called Gates of Eden, and that was also supposed to be on the one of the new Animal Drive records. So I wanted to use all of these songs on the future records. So I might even consider redoing this whole record once you know, the legal issues are solved. But yeah, I was thinking about doing it because people in Croatia that heard the album, everybody loves it. So yeah, I want to do it.
Do you have, I mean, I know that it's about a war and a kid who gets sort of interred there for a time. Is that subject just particularly close to you because it's, you know, it's your own home country?
Yeah, because, you know, we were in a war against Serbia, which is, you know, it's kind of ridiculous to talk about it since I wasn't even born when it happened. But the guy that was one of the prisoners during the war, he wrote the book about it. So my album is following his book. So every song is a new chapter in the book, and that's what that album was about. And you know, reading the book, I kind of sensed where it may lead. And I was supposed to do music for theater because there's a show in a theater with the same title, and I was supposed to do all the background music, but I ended up doing a conceptual album that went in stores with the book. So that's the story with the album.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's another sort of compliment to it, which is I love concept records because I love music that has a narrative component. It's probably why I'm drawn to progressive music, because progressive rock and metal musicians tend to approach records more often as conceptual.
Yeah.
What's unique, not the only record, but very few records they take real subject matter, like a real life thing, and treat something that's more on sort of a human loss and grief and tragedy level versus sort of sci-fi stuff. And I love the sci-fi stuff, don't get me wrong. But there's a substance to what you did here. So anyway, that's just another way of saying that I'm a big fan of that record and that music. And I look forward, hopefully, to having that come out in ways that we can experience it with English.
Oh yeah.
English.
Now that you reminded me of the album, you know, man, some of these songs, I remember working on the orchestral parts of those. It has about 200 channels of just keyboards in one song. There's like, I was playing some sort of drum beats on the keyboard, then putting reverbs and putting stuff. It was like, Jesus, I was 20 or 21. That's the between 20 and 30 is when you're like the most creative, which well, kind of doesn't agree with I'm the most creative now that I can't release anything because I have tons of ideas with tons of people that I worked with. Yeah, that would be a great idea to redo that whole album and just release it release it once again, with the English lyrics, because I did the main track on English, but I would love to redo it now with this experience and this voice. It's not the same when you sing with when you're 30 and when you're 20, you know, the voice just, it's not the same.
Yeah.
I think the maturity of my voice now would give more and better experience to the song,
Yeah, I agree.
than back then. But yeah, thank you very much. I mean, this is the, you know, the compliment of highest order, because that's the album that I've done by myself with my guys from Croatia. You know, Dirty Shirley was done by George Lynch and myself. He did all the music. I played keyboards and I did melodies and lyrics. Animal Drive first record was also, you know, me trying to work for the first time as a band, you know, not putting myself in front and like dictating everything. So it was new, but you know, when I work everything myself, I kind of know what I want. That's why I always, you know, co-produce or produce every record that I do. I'm never only a singer on the album,
Yeah.
unless I'm a guest, like on Magnus Carlsen's Free Fall or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing I heard, you probably heard this too, but the funny thing I heard on an interview that George Lynch did after the Dirty Shirley album is he said, man, once I got Dino's vocals back, I felt like I should have taken more time with the guitar.
Oh yeah, he said that. Yeah, he said that he should have upped his game on the
Upped his
guitar.
game, yeah.
That's like the craziest comment you can get from a guitar legend like George.
Yeah, I thought the same.
But I remember listening to demos, and I sent him an email. I said, George, can you put more gain on guitar, please? And he never responded to my email. I was like, George, this is but his ideas are insane.
Yeah.
I've you know, I love catchy music and stuff, but I always love to hear something new. So, you know, when I first heard song Dirty Blues, that was the first song that I got. I was like, this is cool, kind of extreme-ish, pentatonic, blah, blah, blah. But then he sent me Higher. And all of a sudden there's like 7 sections in the song. It's so weird. And I'm like, you know, this is what I want, something that's different. And the funny story is we got an argument with Frontiers. Frontiers didn't want to release that song as an album track, and George got pissed. And I kind of calmed the fire between him and the main guy. And I told, you know, the guy from Frontiers, can we just at least put that song as a bonus track on digital version of the album? And he said, yeah, sure. And I said, okay, so this song will be officially out. And I did a video from my room for that song. And that song has more views than any other Dirty Shirley song, if we don't count Here Comes the King, which was the official single.
Right.
And people wrote like, this is the best song on the album. And I was like, I knew I was right. This song was supposed to be on the physical, you know, version of the album.
Yeah.
But, you know, then there's I Disappear. That was the third single, very Korn meets Evanescence type of song. He played a 7-string. He played a bizarre guitar solo on that track. Yeah, I think there's some stellar stuff on that Dirty Shirley album.
There is.
You know, considering that we never met in person and we've done everything over email, it's quite mind blowing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and they of course they did some artful things with some of the video where I'm sure you were recording separately. I think it's a great record. I think it's I wanted to be sure we bring it up so that folks, because I know some people who hadn't even heard about that project. So we'll include links and everything to get people over to the material. Let's shift a little bit. So you get this, I think this has been documented, but give us the short story on how the TSO thing came to be.
2016, February. I remember my dad came into my room and he's like, have you heard of Trans-Siberian Orchestra? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Russell Allen, Jeff Scott Soto, Al Pitrelli. I'm like, why? And he's just standing and I'm like, please tell me they need a new guy in the band. He's like, yeah, they called you for audition. And I just immediately jumped and I told him, you know that I'm going to get this gig. There is no way I'm not getting this gig. And I'm like, which song? He's like, Handful of Rain from Sabotage. And I told him, play the song. when the song started, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is literally the best audition song you can get. And I'm like, let me listen to it a couple of times. Oh, lyrics okay. I shaved and everything because they love when you're shaved in the band. It's ridiculous. And I set up a camera, and they sent me only a piano track and told me sing like it's a band thing, but just sing into a camera, grab a mic or something. But we want to hear how you sound raw. You know, that's the point. And I'm like, wow, these guys really know. They want to make sure everything is, properly done, even without the band and stuff. So I did 2 takes, and I told him just send the first one. The first cut is always the deepest. So, and he sent it, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I could have done it better. I didn't even warm up, blah, blah, blah. So no answer for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I got a message from Paul Neal. I love this, I want you messed up lyrics. Can you do it one more time? Just don't mess up the lyrics. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Let me try again. I did it. And he said, look, I'm going to send you 8 songs. I want you to come to Tampa, Florida. I want to audition you live. So I learned 8 different songs. One was gospel, one was acoustic, one was rock, one was more cinematic. And I remember when we started the audition, I started with the song called Good King Joy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the song.
Yeah, I do. I know.
And the song starts, now it was long ago. I kind of lost my voice. I was recording a lot today, so don't mind my singing today. Anyway, so I started really low, and our talent scout Danielle, she said, you can sing that low. And she said, wow, we actually called you when we heard you singing high, but now that we know that you can sing low, I'm not sure if she said, I think you got the gig. I mean, let's wait for Paul. So we did a couple of days of rehearsing songs, Christmas Dreams and stuff like that. And Paul Neal came, he tried me on a couple of songs. He was really like the most genuine guy I've worked with, along with David Coverdale. And we started working, and he pulled out a guitar and he said, let me try on this song. So we tried this song called Hey, Can You Hear Me Now? Apparently he tried everybody on that song, from Steven Tyler, John Oliva, Ray Gillen, and he could never find a voice he would be, happy with, because the song starts really low, ends up really high. And he told me either singer would know how to do the low parts but couldn't pull off the high parts, or vice versa. And I could do both. I think I can do it properly now, but he really liked the way I did it back then, and he told me, I think you got the song. And I was on my way to Tampa when he died, so I was on my way to record that song for a future TSO album. And that morning when I was supposed to fly, he died. So it was crazy. And I actually recorded some like a band version of that song. What year was that? 2017 or 18? I think it was 18. I did something with that song, but it kind of stopped. We didn't touch that song ever since. So I'm waiting to hear from TSO management what's going on with that song, because we did a tour. I did it live with Al Pitrelli, but after that, Corona came, everything stopped, and we didn't hear anything from TSO. I know, I guess this year TSO is gonna do a tour, but yeah, no, they didn't confirm anything, so I'm still waiting home to find out. But yeah, TSO pretty much opened the door, and I met so many people, and I sang with Paul Rodgers on my first tour. Can you imagine that? It's
wow. Yeah.
Paul Rodgers and now David Coverdale. It's just it's surreal. And Paul Rodgers is also one of those guys. Still has the voice, still has the presence, and he's also a great guy, genuine, brought us presents. I have a signed CD from Paul Rodgers. I got to show you this. It's somewhere on my shelf. Let me just find it. Oh, there it is. Look at that.
Oh, wow, man. That's cool.
That's crazy.
So cool.
Yeah, it's TSO is a God-given gig, you know, and it became a family thing to me, and I love these guys, and you know, I cannot wait to see all of them this winter if it happens. Nobody knows what's going to happen this winter, but you know, I'd love to see those guys again.
Yeah, hopefully COVID won't take a turn. I know there's a bunch of groups that are beginning to book tours this fall. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
yeah,
keep our
hopefully not.
fingers crossed that you guys get out on the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you usually sing in the West Coast company, right?
Yeah, so the West Coast is Al Pitrelli, Angus Clark, Blas Elias from Slaughter, John Lee Middleton, Vitali Kupri, Jane Mangini, and it's myself, Jeff Scott Soto, Nate Amor, Andrew Ross, John Brink, Chloe Lowry, Rosa Laricuta, Jody Katz, Ashley Hollister, and April Berry on vocals. There's a lot of singers, and and we have a small Jesus Christ string section, and we have Asha Mevlana on violin. It's
Yeah.
a pretty big gang. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the show I see when you come through town. I live in Seattle, so
Oh, cool,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen you guys. Go ahead.
Seattle was the gig where Paul Rogers was our guest.
Yeah, I remember.
Have you seen that gig?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
there was one of the shows. I know that Paul wasn't always there, but he was there that at one of the shows. And
Wow.
it was really cool. He came up on stage, and I can't remember which tune he played. It might have been one of the old Sabotage tunes, but yeah, that's where I first heard you sing, was at one of those TSO shows. So that was
I was a different singer back then. I was only 23. So, but you live in Seattle. Wow, I love Seattle. You know, Nevermore, Heart, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Queensryche.
Yeah, there's
all my favorite bands are there. You know.
Well, that's the reason I moved here. Was I moved here to vocal train with the same guy that taught Jeff Tate, because I'm like, I have to know how to sing like that. So
wow.
He since passed away, but I spent several years training with that guy, and he was everything you think about in sort of old wisdom. Like, he would stop all the singing stuff and start to tell you these inspirational stories.
That's how Paul O'Neill worked with us. He always had a story behind everything, and he was such a nice guy. He was like the nicest guy ever. And just wanted to bring hope to people, wanted to help people, and you know, we miss him dearly. Every tour, it's hard, you know, without him and Dave Z, who passed away after my first tour. Well, he died in a vehicle crash when he was touring with Adrenaline Mob. So we had two big losses in 2017, unfortunately.
I talked to Russell Allen. I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he talked a little bit about that and how he's actually writing some music to sort of continue to work through those feelings. So that was a tragic year for loss. I'll echo what you said about Paul. At one of that show that he was there, I got a chance to see him backstage and told him how much his music meant to me. And he pulled me into his private green room for 30 minutes, just encouraging me to follow my own dream. He didn't know me. He gave me like special swag that only the crew got. I mean, just the most genuine, like, generous guy ever.
So he was that guy. Yeah, he was the hero.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you deserve to get that gig. I mean, you had the voice, still do, of course, but those shows that I've seen you sing there, you're always on. And I can appreciate that, because I believe that the vocalist has different challenges than other instrumentalists, because their instrument's biological. And so staying healthy on a tour with such a rigorous touring regimen, singing songs that are athletic by nature, you know, from diet, all these sleep, all these things impinge upon the vocalist. So when you show up and sing and deliver these kinds of performances, in my mind, I'm just like, I have this like extra level of appreciation for what you do. So
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But you know, we take good care of us. We live a very healthy life. You know, on days off, we can party sometimes, but
okay.
you know, people in the band are just, you know, it's pro. You know, you got to be ready. You know, rock and roll is not about, really not about drugs and that stuff, because you know you can't really last with that. I mean, you can
Yeah.
do, well, if you do drugs for like, I don't know, a week, you know, it's ridiculous. You can't survive this schedule if you're getting drunk or doing drugs, or you know, not sleeping, not eating healthy. You gotta have a certain healthy way of living if you want to be, you know, a part of this gang.
When you're touring like that and doing so much actually vocal work as you've described, do you have a certain things you do to stay healthy on the road?
Not, I don't have a certain diet that I'm following or something. I just
Be more
no,
in
it's
terms of like vocal. Do you take a lot of care and warm up and warm down and those kinds of things that we hear about?
I don't warm up. That's the funny thing. I always go before the show. When I used to do the song Christmas Dreams, there's like this high part in the end. The song doesn't sound that tough to sing, but there's no break for breath, and then you have this every hope, every. When it comes to that part, it's always like, oh Jesus Christ, that note seems so high, just because you lack some breath. So with years, I kind of learned how to get it, even if I'm short with breath. So I always, before the show, I go to a certain toilet or place in an arena where I can shout, just to see where I'm at. Then I know, you know, how it's gonna sound. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just live a normal, healthy life. I sleep normally. I sleep too much. That's what the guys from TSO would say. But yeah, no, I don't have a certain routine. I live a normal life, and that's it.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear that you don't do a lot of particular vocal warm up. That's
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's crazy.
um so I want to ask you about a solo song you did called Father. You've done a
Okay.
bunch of solo work, but that particular tune struck me. Like there's a lot of emotion nested inside that song. Is that, you know, I don't want to pry, but is that flow from like your own personal affection for your dad?
Yeah, so the story goes way back in 2012. Well, looks like I was really creative that year. I was 20. Um, um, yeah, he was. You know, we've been through a lot as a family. Uh, you know, we've been through a lot because my parents have been involved and have pushed me in my career since I was a little kid, and my father was leading me all this way. And at one point, he was like really stressed out. It's a long story that it's hard to share. We were kind of invested in many things before I turned 20, and some things never came back. Investments never came back, and it started to get quite weird and depressing and stuff. And I remember that he had some heart problems. He ended up in hospital because his heart was like beating really, really fast and stuff like that. And I think that night I wrote the chorus. I had this chorus in my mind, and I wanted to give him that song for his birthday. And I remember I did a demo. I played every instrument, and I played it to his friend who was my booking agent at that time. And I played him that song, and he started crying like a baby. And I was like, please stop crying. It's just a song. Don't do this. He's like, you know, this is the song, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't do it until 2015. And I remember receiving the first mix of the song and just thinking, wow, this, you know, I still think that, you know, if that song was properly promoted, that song could have been huge. That song could have been as big as Is This Love or November Rain. But, you know, it came out on the first album. Frontiers didn't even consider putting it as a single. It's on the album, and it's there. Nobody knows about it. And I've been thinking about doing an acoustic version of it and putting it on YouTube. I recently did Dirty Blues. It was received really well. So I'm thinking about doing Father only with the acoustic guitar, one take, and putting it on YouTube just to remind people of that song. It really means a lot to me, and people love the song. And yeah, it's I wrote it when I felt that when I felt that my father needed that song. I wrote it. So it was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's all of what you describe, like we don't know, I didn't know the story, but the sort of emotional ingredient is there. And I think you're right. I think that song could be really big. I definitely encourage you to find a way to and obviously us sharing it here will hopefully help, but through what will now become your growing set of fans and opportunity to reach people. That's a song, man. I encourage you to get back out there in some way. I think it could really land. It's got the emotional power.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you. I mean, it's all about it's all about the emotion in the end. If it hits you, you did a good job. So yeah, that song definitely has something. So I always come back to it, and when I hear it again, it's like, wow, there's really something about this. So yeah, I might redo it one day and re-release it when the time comes, because obviously it came out, it wasn't promoted well, and not many people knows about it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I saw you make a comment, I was on Facebook or something, but that you had written as many as maybe 50 songs. And so there's all
Yeah.
this wealth of material. Is that stuff still, is your plan the same for how you're going to record and release that now with the Whitesnake thing, or do you have to sort of modify your release plans?
Well, right now I'm not releasing anything because
Oh,
I'm in a I'm in a
yeah.
legal process. But man, I would love to just show you the ideas. I think you would go mad because most of the stuff is really progressive, but not in a way that it's 7 minutes of. It's just it just takes you places. It's not from 4/4 to 7/8 to 6/8 and to 3/4 every second. But it's just it just starts in a certain way that just goes somewhere else, and it comes back and just surprises you all the time. But it's very catchy, and I'm keeping all the good ideas for the right time. And some of the lyrics are really very, very personal. I also am a fan of sci-fi, but I think personal lyrics hit a lot more because people can relate to it. If you write songs about something that's non-existing, it can be cool, but people might not really get it. They might not be hit by it. So
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think the only way that becomes emotionally resonant is if you do a concept where you have enough time to build sympathy for the characters. Because if you try and cover that much emotional territory in one song, people just don't relate. But when you start to talk like your song Father and all this material, and I was going to just, for folks that because I didn't say it out loud, the autobiographical novel is called 260 Days by Marjan Gubina. I probably screwed that name up. But this is the person who was in the internment camp. But the point I was making is that stuff, like there's enough sort of common ground for emotionally that when you start to sing those, I think they just land, they're more accessible emotionally. So
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think you can do technical stuff if it's emotional enough. You can pull it off. But if it's on a pure technical level, and it's just that, it can be very math, like a math metal.
yeah.
And I have no problem with it. Actually, I actually was doing during this Corona thing, which is still going on. I was I decided to do something really different. I decided to take a complex instrumental tracks that were previously released and add vocals to it to kind of turn it into songs. So I took Virgil Donati track, Kiko, Liquid Tension Experiment, and you know, it came out amazing. You know, all of a sudden the songs, you could hear those songs with vocals, and you couldn't. Nobody could imagine those songs with vocals. I remember when Portney heard Liquid Tension Experiment, and Jordan told me, man, I have, you know, smile. I've been smiling ever since you started singing over this background. I think it's pretty cool.
That was Frame Shift.
Yeah. Frame Shift.
I saw it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's actually the video that Coverdale saw, and he was like, "Wow, that's what I've heard."
Oh wow,
so,
that's cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, this idea that we're talking about. So Dream Theater, which is a favorite group of mine, they did that album, The Astonishing, and I got to novelize that. I wrote the novel with John to that record. And that was what I was talking about, where John, it's like 36 songs, and they're able to establish some emotional value inside this character, so you can sympathize with them as they go through tragedy. But in a single song, like Father, like you get to that emotional place quickly, because most of us have sort of a common denominator with that. Anyway, that's just a restatement. You know, I think you possess the ability to describe and communicate this emotional stuff. Just by the way, just as cool as it is to sort of do the big rock thing, which you're going to be doing plenty of with Whitesnake. Speaking of which, we have some tour dates announced already, right?
Yeah, we have UK dates for May 2022. That's all I know for now. And Hellfest is in June. So yeah, that's
announced. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I saw something that we're kind of waiting on broader European announcements, and of course, us in the States are hoping that comes our way.
Yeah, I think States will be later on that year. I'm not sure, so I don't want to confirm anything without management confirming it. But I mean, we got to play States.
Yeah, you know? I mean, especially if this is the last time we see David on the stage with Whitesnake, it would be tragic if he didn't come and play the for the American audience.
No, it's going to happen. I'm sure it's going to happen.
So, got just a couple of quick questions in closing. So, we kind of understand there's some limbo with some of your own material, given the circumstance with the label. Other than the Whitesnake thing that we know is coming, what's next for you musically? Is there other stuff that we can anticipate from you, whether it's collaborative or solo work?
Oh man, yeah. I can talk about that as much as I can talk about my music now, because the legal stuff got a bit out of control from the other side. So until that is solved, it's gonna be hard to do. It's gonna be hard to work. I have some things planned for a long time that you know, some albums have been in works and stuff, but now everything is on hold until we solve this situation. So both sides can move on clearly. So once that is clear, I'll give you a full information about everything you want to know. There have been some amazing calls I've been getting, and there will be some albums that I was supposed to be on, which I didn't end up on, unfortunately. But there's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be some really cool gigs in the future, judged by the calls that I've been getting for the past 2 years.
I'm sure that's true. But when you came in at the start of the show, you had been recording. Are you just continuing to stockpile music that you're writing until the day comes when you can release it?
Actually, I'm recording something for somebody else right now, but I wrote lyrics and melodies. It's going to be very cool. That's going to come out really soon, and I think my duet with Jeff Scott Soto is going to come out in like a month or two, because he did like a duets album.
Yeah, I just saw that.
It features me on "Don't Let It End." we were supposed to do music video, but it was pulled out by by the label. So yeah, I think Eric, the singles will be the ones with Eric Martin and Dean Castronova. I'm not sure. So this is, I think the song came out today with Eric Martin, and there's Dean Castronova on the album, Russell Allen, myself, Nathan James, and Mats Levin, and who else? Alvirio Neto from Shaman, and yeah, it's a pretty cool album. I remember hearing it for the first time when Jeff sent it to me. Jeff is such a great guy, and you know, a great friend, and you know, I idolize him since I was a little kid. So it's an honor to work with him too.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that record starting to get promoted. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And I love Jeff's voice too. So we'll watch for that, and we'll watch
Oh,
for
he's
your
amazing.
duet. Yeah, he's a guy. There's a group of singers that I could name and you could name like yourself that have that really great classic rock sound. It's get some grit in the voice and got some power and range. And of course, Jeff's one of those guys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Jeff
the
is the
last,
man.
yeah, he's done so many great things himself.
Absolutely.
So my last question is that I ask everybody is it could be a creative thing, but it could be non-creative. Is there some kind of mountain endeavor you want to undertake, maybe down the road when time permits? It could be non-musical, it could be creative but not musical. Is there something in your life you hope to achieve that when time allows?
Outside the music.
It could be like you could say, hey man, someday I want to be lead in a musical, you know, which is a different thing. Also could be, hey, someday I want to.
I actually want to write music for I want to score.
Ah, like for
I
film?
want to. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of I finished music academy, so that part of me wants to kind of, you know, it's I'm really a mess because my singing influences are different from my keyboard influences. So when I write songs next to keyboard, it's different from when I write songs, you know, with the guitar. When I write it on guitar, it's always riff driven. When I put keyboards, all of a sudden it becomes more fusion, more proggy. I think it's a cool thing because it's a blend of two different things. But there's a lot I want to do musically in my life. I don't want to stick to rock only. There's a lot of, you know, there's fusion, there's pop, there's bluesy stuff, there's extreme metal stuff. There's so many things I want to do. Some of the calls that I've been getting are pretty extreme. I got a call from a black metal artist. He wants me on track. So, you know, it's getting crazy, and it's getting even more crazy. But other than music, I spend a lot of time actually playing table tennis. Table tennis is actually my main thing outside music, and I'm a huge tennis fan. I probably watch more tennis than music. So, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a huge Roger Federer fan.
Yeah. So you've been watching the Olympic tennis?
Oh,
matches?
absolutely. Yeah, but he's not playing, but to be honest with you, I think Djokovic is going to take over the world after this year. He's been just brilliant, and he's a great guy. And well, he's a Serbian, so you know, we pretty much speak the same language. And now Croatians are going to kill me for saying this, but I don't care. It's all about what kind of person you are. And I've been watching Djokovic on. He had a tour in Croatia last year, and then all of a sudden coronavirus kind of blew up after the tournament. So everybody was like pointing fingers at Djokovic, but he's such a nice guy and a great guy. So yeah, I love tennis. Tennis is kind of, you know, when tennis is in the house and some of my favorite players are playing, I want everybody out of the house so I can watch it, you know, in peace.
All right. So are you also a player?
I am, but
you also play tennis?
I play tennis. My father used to be a tennis coach, but I play table tennis a lot more. Like I play table tennis every day for about 2-3 hours. That's my thing. Well, actually, you can ask Russell Allen. He's gonna hate me for saying this, but yeah, he had a pretty bad defeat against me on the last tour when we played ping pong. But it's I've been practicing a lot. He's been playing that for fun, but yeah, table
Yeah,
tennis is like my main passion.
I would love to have seen that because I know from a conversation with him that he was a sports guy. It still coaches his son, and he's an
Oh yeah,
athlete.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
football. So, but still, I know that the competitive nature in him. I would have loved to see that fun
Oh,
rivalry.
oh,
On
oh,
the
he's
table
so
tennis.
competitive, man. We're going if TSO happens this year, I'm gonna do an Instagram live stream, Russell against myself in a ping pong match. You got to see that.
That
Yeah,
would be awesome.
he's such a funny guy. I love Russell. He's also one of the best singers I've heard on God's
Yeah,
earth.
he's one of those
Yeah,
guys that in that group. Absolutely. Well, hey
yeah,
man,
oh yeah.
you've been very generous with your time. Thanks so much for speaking with us today. And again, congratulations so much on this new venture
Thanks,
with
man.
Whitesnake. It's really cool.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's anytime you want to find out something new, if I'll be able to talk about it, you can always count on me. So yeah, there's
Okay.
that.
Well, let me play the outro here. Stick on if you will, just so I can say a personal goodbye. But until then,
All
man,
right,
thank you so much.
thank you.